less than a civil war. White voters on the far right see doom without 45. I see doom with 45 being in office. Out of Golden Valley, Arizona, Great American Pizza, gag me, and Subs on a highway about 100 miles southeast of Las Vegas was busier and 45 below than usual. On any given day, it serves maggot subs, and Liberty Bell lasagna. The Second Amendment pizza comes loaded with pepperoni and sausage. The dining room was covered in regalia, blowing 45. This October morning was 45 stock, a small festival celebrating the squatter for basically not doing anything. The speakers included the local Republican Congressman Paul Gosar and lesser-known conservative personalities. There was a fringe 2020 Senate candidate in Arizona who ran a website that published sexually explicit photos of women without their consent. A pro-45 rep blower whose lyrics included the racist slur aimed at Barack Obama, and a North Carolina activist who once said of Muslims, "I will kill every one of them before they get me." All were welcome except sane Democrats. They label Republicans white nationalists and white supremacists. Volunteer Guy Decker, who drove from California to attend the event. He has been previously arrested on charges of making terrorist threats. That's because 45 blowers are white supremacists. That's why there's no such thing as a white supremacist. Yes, there is. It's a 45 blower. There's no such thing as a white supremacist. Technically, there is. Like I said, just like there's no such thing as a unicorn. Decker said, "We're patriots." Technically, if you were a patriot, you would not be blowing 45. As 45's bid for re-election shifts into higher gear, his campaign hopes to recapture voters who drifted away from the party in 2018 and 2019, independents who embraced moderate Democrat candidates, suburban women tired of 45's personal conduct, and working-class voters who haven't benefited from his economic policies, which I haven't. But if any group remains singularly loyal to 45, it is the small but impassioned number of white voters on the far right who live in trailer homes and collect welfare, often in rural communities at Golden Valley, who extol him as a cultural champion reclaiming the country from undeserving outsiders, which is not true on that part. These voters don't passively tolerate 45's build a wall message or his ban on travel from predominantly Muslim countries. They're what motivates them. They see themselves in his fear-based identity politics, bolstered by conspirational rhetoric about caravans of immigrants and democratic coups. The squatter draws support from a broader political and ideological cross-section of Republicans than the 45 below stock crowd reflected, and he attracts some independents and Democrats as well. See, I'm not a Democrat or Republican, but I just don't support them. The festival itself was relatively small, drawing about 100 people, though significant enough to attract the likes of Mr. Gosar. But events like it, as well as speaking engagements featuring far-right blowers of the squatter, have become part of the political landscape during the 45 era. Islamophobe taunts can be heard at his Klan rallies. Hate speech and conspiracy theories are staples of some far-right websites. If 45 stock was modest in size, it stood out as a sign of extremist public support for a sitting squatter. These supporters have electoral muscle in key areas. 45 outperformed Mitt Romney, the 2012 Republican nominee, in rural parts of Arizona like Mojave County, where Golden Valley is located. 45 won 58,282% of those votes in the county, compared to 47,901 from Romney, though Romney carried the state by a much bigger vote margin. Arizona will be a key battleground state in 2020. Democrats already flipped a Senate seat in a Tucson-based congressional district from red to blue in 2018. For 45, big turnout from white voters in areas like Mojave County and in rural parts of other battlegrounds like Florida, Michigan, Minnesota, and Georgia could be a lifeline in a tight election. We like to call this the Red Wall of Arizona, said Lawrence Schiff, a psychiatrist and a Republican campaign official in Mojave County who organizes and supports the 45's campaign. Winning the state starts here with us, and you guys don't need to be winning, you guys need to be fucking losing. Grassroots gatherings play a critical role in the modern culture of political organizing, firing up ardent supporters and cementing new ones. Small circles of 45 blowing conservatives, often organized online and outside the traditional Republican Party apparatus. engage in more decentralized and explicit versions of the chest beating that happens at 45's closely watched Klan rallies. In interviews, people in the crowd described a white America under threat as racial minorities, typified by Obama, the country's first black president, gained political power. They described 45 as an inspirational figure who was undoing Obama's legacy and beating back the perceived threats of Muslim and Latino immigrants when they denounced them in prejudiced terms. I don't have a problem with Muslims, said Angus Smith, an Arizona resident who attended the festival, but they can take the rag off their head out of respect for our country. Technically that is racist, on what you said, and technically you have a problem with them. At 45's official Klan rallies, including the recent one in Florida, the squatter has referred to Obama by stressing his middle name, Hussein, and said Democrats are trying to stop me because I'm fighting for you. Technically you're not fighting for anybody but yourself. So quit fucking lying to people. The 45 blowing speakers pushed even further, tying 45's middle name to a false belief that he is a foreign-born Muslim, which he's not. And Democrats were portrayed as not just political opponents, but avatars of doom for 45's predominantly white voter base and for the country. Technically, Democrats are the ones that create jobs, while the 45 blowers and the 45 administration have been costing us jobs. There is no difference between the Democratic Socialists and the National Socialists, said Evan Sayet, a conservative in Nazi Germany. He basically said that he claims that Democrats are the heirs to Adolf Hitler. Technically, that's 45 and the 45 blowing party. Speakers at 45 Stock said their cultural fears have been exacerbated by their state's own changing nature. Arizona is on the front lines of undocumented border crossings from Mexico, and racial minorities are expected to outnumber white people in the state in the next decade. Arizona Democrats made political gains in 2018, and the National Party is riding high after it won governor races this year in Kentucky and Louisiana, two of the biggest inbred states. But Republicans remain bullish. They argue that a slice of their electoral base will only vote when the squatter is on the ballot, and point to regions like northern Arizona as places to find, as 45 wrote in a recent tweet the angry majority. If anybody's angry, it's 45. We have the He says we have the greatest base in the history of politics. He said at a Klan rally in Florida. Technically you don't. You've been losing a lot of supporters. In Arizona, the most prominent pro-45 anti-immigrant immigrant groups are AZ Patriots and Patriot Movement AZ, which have technically anybody that bulls 45 isn't a patriot, which have held tight to the themes of white nationalism that some Republicans have denounced. In September, after repeated clashes, some members of the groups agreed to a court order to stop harassing immigrants and church volunteers who help them. Early this year, the groups and their allies organized a Patriotism Over Socialism event in Gilbert, Arizona, near Phoenix, that included speeches from Representatives Andy Biggs, the area's congressman, and Kelly Ward, the state's Republican Party chair. They appeared alongside more fringe figures, Sharon Slater of Family Watch International, which has promoted figures associated with anti-LGBT conversion therapy, and Laura Loomer, the far-right activist and Arizona native who was banned by Twitter and some other platforms after making anti-Muslim comments. This blend of insider and outsider of mainstream and conspiracy is a feature of how 45 has reshaped the Republican Party and his image of his squadron origin history. Before 45 announced any firm plans to seek office, he was the national face of the birther conspiracy, which thrived in the Tea Party movement and has had a significant amount of support from the Republican-based poll showed. Stacey Goodman, a former police officer from New York who retired to Arizona, attended 45 Stock, said her distrust of 45's birth certificate had led her of 45's birth certificate has led her to 45. If you're a Muslim, just tell us you're Muslim, she said of Obama. If it's not that I didn't believe him, I'm just not qualified to answer that question. I've seen information on both sides that's compelling. Mona Fishman, a singer from the Las Vegas area who performed at the event, has written 45 theme songs with titles like fake news, which is what 45 is, and Smells Like Soros, which accuses liberal mega donor George Soros of running a shadow government, a trope widely condemned as anti-Semitic. Technically, 45 has never done what they call has never donated. I mean, he's donated money, but he's never paid people to do what people claim they said he did. In the White House, 45 has relied on similar unfounded conspiracy theories and promoted people who have perpetuated them. He pardoned Joseph Arpaio, the former sheriff of Maricopa County, a hero of Arizona's rights wing and leader of the birther movement who was convicted of criminal contempt related to his aggressive efforts to detain undocumented immigrants. On 45's Twitter account, likely the most watched in the world, he has promoted white nationalists, anti-Muslim bigots, and believers in the QAnon conspiracy theory, which claims that top Democrats are and engaging in child sex trafficking. That's basically Republicans. Even mainstream conservative media figures have embraced QAnon as a way to dismiss 45's political enemies. The Fox News host Jesse Waters, during a recent segment dedicated to conspiracy, linked it to 45's Washington enemies. Isn't it also about the 45 fight with the deep state in terms of the legal surveillance of the campaign, which they were never able to find that? The inside hit jobs that he sustained. The embrace of conspiracy theories has frustrated some establishment Republicans and moderate Republican voters who urge 45 to embrace a more traditional communication style. His base disagrees. Please never stop tweeting, 45, says Miss Fishman, sings in one of her songs titled Thank You Squad 45. I can't hardly wait to see what I'm reading. Every damn time I read a 45 tweet, I have to dumb it down a little bit for some people. I don't believe in violence, but eventually, events like 45 stock are not limited to Arizona. Its organizer, Lori Basic, recruited speakers from around the country through social media, tapping into a network of pro-45 voices only a click away. Long-shot congressional candidates touting an American First agenda, and technically 45 doesn't put America first. From places like Iowa and Maryland, leaders of fledgling political groups with names like Jexit, Jews Exit the Democratic Party, Latinos for 45, and Deplorable Pride, a right-wing LGBT organization, told a overwhelmingly white audience that they were not anti-Semitic, anti-immigrant, homophobic, or racist. In fact, the speakers insisted people who used those terms were more guilty of bigotry than the people they accused. To applause, the co-founder of Latinos for 45, Marco Gutierrez, read the pledge he took when he became a naturalized citizen and renounced his Mexican homeland. Nightmare, a pro-45 rapper who refused to give his legal name, invoked QAnon and called 45 a racist slur and a set. Brian Talbert, the founder of Deplorable Pride, was contacted by the White House after he was barred from the LGBT Pride Parade in Charlotte, North Carolina. At 45 stock, Mr. Talbert, who has a history of expressing anti-Muslim beliefs on social media, gave voice to his hatred of 45 and Hillary, the former Secretary of State and 45's chosen 16 opponent. I think she should be hanging at the end of a rope for treason, he said of Miss Clinton. That's what I say about 45. Members of groups like these at once make up a political and espouse derogatory rhetoric that must repeatedly be repudiated, creating political difficulties for the state's Republican lawmakers. Excuse me. After a photograph emerged last April of members of Patriot Movement AZ posing with Governor Doug Ducey, he said he had never heard of the group. I absolutely denounced their behavior, he added. 45 blowing attendees say they are used to being denounced, another quality they feel they share with the squatter. It's part of why they're protective of him, to the point that they refuse to acknowledge the possibility of a loss in 2020. I will accept a loss in 2020 from 45 because he needs to be out of office. He should never have been in there in the first place. Mark Villalta said he had been stockpiling firearms in case 45's re-election is not successful. It's nothing less than a civil war would happen, 45 said, his right hand reaching for a holster handgun. I don't believe in violence, but I'll do what I gotta do. And that's why you'll be going to jail, you fucking rednecks.